Hi, everyone. I'm Gold Derby News and Features Editor Ray Richmond, and I'm here today with Rudy Mancuso, the director, co-writer, composer, and star of the semi-autobiographical Prime Video film Musica. Rudy, I know this is the first full-length movie you've made yourself, and you wore an insane number of hats on the thing. Were you still able to get any sleep while you were producing this?
Oh no, sleep wasn't really an option. But but yeah, as someone who hates hats, I wore all the hats.
And besides all that, you cast your own mother, Maria, to play, of all people, your mother.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about typecasting. As if doing everything on your movie wasn't already enough pressure. How did that come to be?
Well, I I wanted more than anything to have that chemistry and authenticity. The mother-son relationship was very important, and my mom is natural. She's kind of unapologetically herself on and off camera. Is a very naturally gifted performer and actor and has this ability to play herself, regardless of the size of the crew or the environment. So I had to take advantage of that. And it wasn't always easy. You know, she's not a trained actor. She doesn't understand blocking and memorizing lines and camera positions. But I'm not trained either. So it was a lot of fun.
She'd never acted before at all, right? I mean, this is
No.
it was it was just fantastic. I mean, yeah, like you said, who better than your mother to play your mother? And
Yeah, and I'm inspired by Scorsese casting his mom and all and a bunch of my favorite films. She's also so naturally good and not a trained actor. Or Master of None. Like I've seen it done a few times successfully enough that I was inspired to do the same.
let's leave it at the fact that you're following in Scorsese's footsteps. That'll work. Um, Briefly, give us a synopsis of Musica here, Rudy. It's sort of a rom-com coming-of-age story, quasi-musical. I mean, and from the beginning, when people were jamming with pans and utensils in the diner, you totally had me. It's just such an enchanting film. People should see it.
Oh, those are kind words. Yeah, I guess it's a convergence of all those things. I think the goal was always to counterbalance a super simple, familiar story, a coming of age boy meets girl story with a more complex perspective, which is synesthesia and a unique relationship with sound and music, which is the Brazilian American experience and Brazilian culture and the Portuguese language. Those are those are kind of more difficult devices and themes um, to tackle, but you counterbalance that with a very simple, familiar story. That was always the vision.
Yeah, let's talk about synesthesia for a second. That's a neurological condition. I didn't know a thing about it until I heard about and saw your film. Uh, I know just generally it happens when you involuntarily experience one sense through another, and in your sense, it turns into rhythm. How describe how it's impacted your life?
Well, as seen in the film, growing up, it's a perspective and an experience that I've always had. I didn't really know that it was diagnosable. I didn't know there was a name for it until way later in my life. But yeah, your definition is spot on. And there's what I didn't know was there's so many different types of synesthesia, and it's just a intertwining of the senses that is sometimes super torturous and sometimes super helpful. I'm very lucky. I get to channel that perspective and experience through my work and through creating and through art and storytelling. But for a long time growing up, I wasn't creating and I didn't have uh, storytelling devices and capabilities. So this was all just inside of my head and body. So I was experiencing sounds and turning them into music. And it was getting in the way of school, of relationships, of conversations, of family, until I was lucky enough that in my young adulthood, I finally found my footing and figured out what I wanted to do. And it was to create, to film stuff, to make puppet musicals, to write songs. And till this day, the synesthesia hasn't gone away, but I've been able to use it as an asset instead of a hindrance.
How does synesthesia manifest itself for other people? Isn't it like count like when you see numbers that you taste things, and I mean, it can get really offbeat and strange. It isn't just, turning a ball bouncing or a shoe hitting the pavement into a rhythm. For other people, it has a completely different meaning.
That's right. There's so many different types. But yes, some people can taste Tuesday. Others can smell the number 4. I've learned over like 70, 80 and counting types of synesthesia, each one more unique than the other. Chromesthesia, which is a very popular one, perceiving sounds as color, sound to color synesthesia. Misophonia, which is an acute sensitivity to sounds and frequencies. You know, they sound like differences that are strange and bizarre, but some people I think are lucky enough to reperceive that difference as a superpower.
And you've had a form of this as far back as you can remember. It's almost like having musical tinnitus. I mean, if I can,
Yeah.
compare that, it's like you always have the soundtrack playing in your head, and life itself is like
Mhm.
a distraction.
Yeah, exactly right. And that sounds romantic when put into a sentence or log line, but it could also be really unnerving and torturous.
Did I see you talking about it and saying that you think maybe a lot of people or almost everyone has one form of this or another in some fashion?
I
And,
do
and,
believe.
and I'm wondering if there's any way you could test me to see if I have.
Well, yeah. Here's a quick one. Close your eyes.
Okay.
Think about the day of the week, Monday. Monday, the first day of the week. What
Mhm.
color do you see?
Blue,
Okay, Friday. It's the last day of the week before the weekend. What color do you see?
yellow.
Okay, now open your eyes. Were those random, or do you think that there's an actual reason why you chose blue and why you chose yellow? Because something like 75% of people have the same answer.
Is that true?
I
Wow.
might get the number wrong, but they did a test, and you'd be surprised. A high percentage of people said the same thing. They associated Friday or weekend with lighter, warmer colors, and the beginning of the week, Monday, with a cooler, darker color, like
That's
blue and yellow.
fascinating. It really wasn't
Almost.
random for
Okay, there you go.
me.
So
Wow.
it's a spectrum. You have chromesthesia and you don't even know it.
How do you like that? Then that's why I had you test, because I thought, you know what? I'll bet I have some. Have a little taste of this myself. Um, uh, but it also, again, in the film, I mean, it plays such a central role, synesthesia, and obviously it's been, except for driving you insane, it's been an asset in a lot of ways too.
Mhm. That's right. That's right. And some people aren't storytellers and aren't creative people, and they have their own experience. But I think more than anything, the message that I'm trying to convey in the film is embrace your differences, whether it's synesthesia or something else. We all have unique qualities that are specific to us. And rather than feeling alienated by them, um, maybe reperceive those strange, unique qualities, those differences as a positive thing.
I'm trying to imagine, though, Rudy, being an executive at Amazon and hearing your pitch about such a personal film and synesthesia and everything. And they said yes. But were there a lot of roadblocks to getting a green light for this?
I was lucky. Amazon was an incredibly supportive and creative forward studio. Um, they they were really easy to work with, but I think that's attributed to the vision being so personal, and the story being so close to my heart and experience. It's hard to give someone notes or pushback on their life, right? And of course, there's story, there's structure, there's multiple drafts, there's crewing, and there's production, and there are a lot of obstacles like any feature production faces. But Amazon was really singular vision, creative, supportive, forward, and that's all I can ask for, especially as a first time filmmaker. But I went in there, I didn't go in there empty-handed. I went to the pitch with my puppet. I went there with my keyboard. I reenacted 3 of the set pieces live for them so they can see it. I had a sizzle that I shot, which was like a poor man's version of the opening diner scene. Like I came with the loaded weapons.
And puppets play a big role in your real life too, and not just in the film. Almost like an alter ego at a confessional.
That's right. Yeah, I've always loved the humanized puppets, stuff like Avenue Q and Team America, Crank Yankers, and I wanted to launch my own series of those puppets or create my own characters. And I did it at a young age, and I started messing around and doing these characters that were cultural and musical. And yeah, that's all very real.
What else is autobiographical about Musica, Rudy? I know you hired your mom to play your mom. You filmed it in the house where you actually grew up in New Jersey.
That's right.
Uh,
And the house I'm in right now, it's my mother's house till this day, and I'm here visiting her at the moment. And in fact, I think she just walked in. Ma? Ma, I'm in an interview.
let's get her over here.
I'm in an interview, okay?
If she wants to join us, that's okay.
Yeah, so I'm here visiting because I was shooting in Toronto, so I popped over. But to answer your question, yeah, everything from the house to my mom playing my mom, me playing myself. That fish market is the actual fish market my mom would go to growing up, and we got to shoot there. The restaurant with the double date scene, that was a restaurant I went to every weekend growing up as a kid. The Ironbound Streets, that's the actual neighborhood. Um, Commuting to Rutgers every day while living at home. Rutgers Newark, which was the college that I was attending. Doing busking with the puppet and doing the musical performance in the subway. All that's real.
So you had art imitating life, but life imitating art too, because you actually fell in love with your co-star,
I
Camila
know. Slap
Mendes.
on the wrist.
You didn't have to take it that literally,
I'm a method actor. What can I say?
That really did have to help the believability of the storyline, though, huh?
Yeah,
You
well,
really
look,
did go all in.
Cammy and I met on this project, and you know, she's a fantastic actor, and she was also a really good producer on this, and we worked so intimately on the script and developing the characters, and we have such similar upbringings. She's Brazilian American, I'm Brazilian American. There was a language and a cultural understanding and this duality of cultures that we both really related to, and there was a familiarity. I felt like I'd known her for much longer than a few months, and her as well. So as we were shooting and our characters were kind of building this chemistry, so were we in real life. And yeah, I'm big on trying to make everything as authentic and real as possible. I mean, who isn't? What filmmaker wouldn't want that? But I didn't anticipate that the chemistry being that palpable that quickly.
Oh my God, it really is. You can really feel it and tell while you're doing it too.
Oh, I hope so. That's nice to hear.
It did not surprise me that you guys felt for real, because it was like, oh my gosh, it's bursting off the screen. You can feel it. And what point in the shoot, Rudy, did you and Camilla realize you weren't just pretending to be in love anymore? Was it early on?
I'd say it was pretty early on. We realized, oh, this is probably more than just a performance. And I think it was the first day of shoot. Remember, we had been speaking for a few months before that, but the first day of shooting, where we physically shot together, which is the park scene, by the way. We started with that scene. That is probably one of the more tender moments between the two characters. So we're having this conversation. She's asking about synesthesia, and I'm trying to explain it, and we're kind of laughing and charming each other. I don't. That wasn't really Isabella asking Rudy. That was Cammy asking Rudy. And so I'd say pretty much immediately we knew there's something here.
And now she's an executive producer too, so she really did have a lot of creative input in addition to acting
Yeah,
input.
yeah, she did. She helped layer the characters, especially the female characters in it, and we went through every single page, writing, rewriting. It was really helpful.
Was it tough to direct your mother? This is a woman again who's never acted before. And she, first and foremost, you're her son, not her director. So how tough was
Yeah,
that?
I think it was actually doing exactly that, was stop acting as her director and really assume the role of her son. That's where I got through to her the most. We would cross shoot a lot of the scenes with my mom, minimum 2 cameras, sometimes 3. Um, so that we're capturing all the nuances of every take uh um organically. And for a lot of it, it stopped being about mom, let's go over the page, and it became let's throw out the page and just have a conversation. So a lot of what you're seeing is a real conversation between my mom and I. But I would steer her to hit the beats.
And no major blowups or anything on the set. And she didn't
No.
she didn't pull star trips and stay in her trailer and demand a raise or anything.
No, nothing like that. She kept asking the crew members to take off their shoes sometimes in the middle of a take so that they wouldn't bust up the floors of the house. So that happened a few times, but
Seriously?
100% in the middle of a take, we're filming, and she'd be like, "Oh no, can you please take off your shoes? I don't want to get scratched." I'm like, "Mom, we're filming a movie, right?" And she's like, it's okay. They won't even notice. I'll tell him quietly." So there was that aspect of it.
Do you feel at this point, Rudy, that your mother finally views you as a success, or are you still like a mild disappointment?
um, I think she's incredibly proud. It probably wasn't until we were at South by Southwest for the premiere of the film with hundreds of people in a full house watching the film we made in my mom's kitchen in New Jersey on a big screen, and feeling the energy of the room that my mom realized, holy shit, this isn't just an Instagram video. This is an actual movie.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, come on. So you mean it's hearsay until she actually sees it on a screen? You didn't really
I
have
think
film in
that's
those
when it felt
cameras.
like a that spectacle made it feel like a movie. I mean, she's older, she's from a different generation where going to the movies is a movie. Watching a film on a streamer at home is not the same. So, and to a degree, I agree. Um, but streamers have some of the best content in the world these days. But to have the opportunity to see our streaming film on a big screen for our premiere meant the world to her and to me.
And I mean, she has to be pleased. You're finally with a nice Brazilian American girl, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I know. I feel this whole thing, this whole film might have been orchestrated by my mom.
It was just a giant ruse. Uh, did
Yeah,
did
exactly.
uh, how happy is Amazon with the result, and how has the film been met out there?
Yeah, great. They're very happy. We just spoke to them about it yesterday. They're very happy. They're very supportive. We worked very closely together on the marketing campaign. Um, and viewers, from what I can tell, are enjoying it. It was received well critically, which is a surprise to me.
Why is
Everything's
that a
been
surprise?
when you're so close to a project for this many years, you kind of lose sight of what it is. Um, so my relationship with the project has gone through ups and downs. I was in the editing room in a dark room by myself and my editor for 10 weeks. By the time you're out of that process, you don't know what the hell it is anymore. So I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if people would get it, if they'd love it, if they'd hate it. It was a mystery to me. So it was a nice surprise to see that it was resonating with people.
Well, it really is such a magical movie, Rudy, full of joy and love. Impossible
Thank
to
you so
watch it and
much.
not get caught up in that. So you should be really proud. Um, and I think we're gonna leave things there. Musica streams on Prime Video. Rudy Mancuso, best of luck to you this Emmy season, and thanks for joining us today at Gold Derby.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.